What is going on, YouTube people? Today, Pokemon single prices are soaring, and it's not something I talk about a ton because I'm not in the single scene. I'm mostly on the sealed side, but I pay attention to what's going on across the board. I just don't know like the individual cards per se, like a ton about those. But I follow it from a macro level. I see what's been going on the sports card side of things. And as you can see here, we're in Market Movers, link in the description down below. I have this sorted by Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, that's what it's showing, PSA 10s, and price changes over the last 90 days across the board. I can set this to whatever I want, but I went last 90 days because it seems like there's been a big level up in singles in the last 90 days. And there's a lot of stuff that could drive single market, especially in PSA 10 grade, gem rate percentage, life cycle of the product. Did something first come out and then the prices start really high and it crashes down? We're seeing that with the Team Rocket Mewtwo EX. It shows here that it's down, but you can't really read a lot into that, honestly, because the first sales to market are always going to be super high, and then as more supply comes, it drives the price down, it normalizes, and then it will eventually do whatever it's actually going to do. But some of the stuff that's been out for a while, the Umbreon, for example, that is not a new card to market. That has been out forever. The Mewtwo, the Magikarp have been gaining a ton of steam lately. The Giratina has been gaining a ton of steam lately. Is this simply all of a sudden collectors are realizing I need to gobble this stuff up? Like the Mew EX, is that because people are realizing that Paldean Fates is probably going to go out of print pretty soon? There's going to be less of these coming to market, and it's going to cause the price to spike. Same with Magikarp. Giratina, that product's been out of print for a while. All of a sudden, it's getting a ton of love. Is it buyouts? Is it market manipulation? Is it a little bit of this, a little bit of that? It very well could be, and honestly, it probably is. But one of the big things we've seen on the sports card side of the world that has been driving a ton of prices, and if you watch my content at all over there, you know where I'm going with this. It is the repackification of the hobby. In the sports card side of the world, repacks are just driving a ton of money into the singles market. And I don't know that it's inflating everything on the sports card side, but it is keeping things at minimum stable, propping it up, and in some cases raising the prices on things. Because, and in sports cards, you can equate it to a couple key cards. Case hits are the big chase. Your downtowns, kabooms, your color blasts. Those are huge chase cards. A lot of the money, a lot of the sales prices on those cards are single-handedly being propped up because repackers want them for their chase. Now, for you Pokemon folks that aren't familiar with what a repack is, it's essentially what Courtyard.io, Arena Club, what GameStop Power Packs are going to be. It is you buy in at a $100 blind bag, grab pack, whatever, and you have a chance of a $50 floor card or let's say $1,000 ceiling card, and you're going to get one graded slab. These things have been around forever, but they have really taken off in the last year, and big business is getting behind them. And Pokemon ones are extremely popular, and they are gaining even more steam. And it's going to get even crazier. We'll get to that in a second. If you don't believe how popular repacks are, now this does not separate out Pokemon from sports. It's just total volume. And this is just one repack company. This is Courtyard.io. They are an online repacker. You buy the thing and then instantly sell it back to them if you want, like Arena Club and what Power Packs is going to be. This is their monthly sales revenue per month. They do basically $50 million a month for most of 2025. Let that sink in for a second. I have heard estimates that it is around 50% Pokemon sales on that. So that's 25 million a month just in Courtyard of repack sales. Now, a bulk of those are getting sold back to them, but they still need to feed the beast. And if you don't believe me, also look at how PSA has recentered their entire business around repackers with PSA offers, them getting into multiple partnerships with GameStop, etc. And then let's take this a step forward. Power Packs is coming, and I guarantee initially their offering is Pokemon and football. Power Packs is going to be extremely successful. GameStop has a massive client list to sell to. Guess what they need to feed the repack? They need inventory, and it has to be graded cards. And in the case of Power Packs, it's PSA only graded cards. Now, most of them they'll accept other grading companies, only the big ones usually. PSA, BGS, SGC, and then hit or miss on CGC. Power Packs is PSA only. So you could see how all of this starts trickling down to singles. And one of the big differences in Pokemon, as opposed to sports cards, are things are much more centered around a handful of cards. For example, in sports, with Jaden Daniels, if you want the hottest new Jaden Daniels sports card, you have, or Otani, whoever, you have a ton of options to choose from. You have rookie cards, you have rare insert numbered parallels, you have autographs, you have relic cards. The amount of cards built around a singular player, and then you get into numbered parallels, are endless. You have thousands, hundreds of tens of thousands of options in some cases, depending on how long the player's been around for. Pokemon, that is not the case. Yes, Pikachu and Charizard have been around forever. They have a lot of cards in the history of Pokemon dating back to, 1999. But how many of them are actual true chases? And then when you get into the more modern stuff, everything focuses around like one or two key cards per set that are actually big chases. If you're putting together a modern Pokemon repack and you want chases to entice people to buy into it, what are you going to want? You're going to want an Umbreon. You're going to want a Sunbreon. You're going to want a Magikarp. You're going to want a Giratina. You're going to want a Mew. You're going to want those things to dangle out there as the bait, as the carrot on the hook to entice people to buy into them. Now, these pop counts are large. Obviously, in some cases, the Umbreon is at 17,000. A lot of those are in collectors' hands. And now all of a sudden, you literally have multi-billion-dollar companies wanting these cards for their repacks. That is going to drive the prices up on some of these. And I'm not specifically saying that's what's happening here. This is speculation on my part. But I would not be surprised if the Pokemon single side of things is starting to feel the repacks creeping in. I just don't think it's apparent yet. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. If you're on the frontline streets buying and selling Pokemon, are you seeing a lot of repackers buy from you? You might not recognize what they are. Usually they want to put a stack together, and usually they want a little bit of room on it. They usually want to buy between the 80 and 90% range, and they usually want to buy in bulk. They love sticky notes, they love Sharpies, and they love to sit backwards on Zion cases. At least on the sports card side of things. I have a sneaking suspicion they're starting to creep into the Pokemon scene more and more. And I have a sneaking suspicion that it is at least, I'm not saying it's the sole driver, but I would not be surprised if that is why you were starting to see a rise in singles prices on graded Pokemon stuff. Curious for your thoughts and comments down below. Am I crazy? Or am I crazy like a fox? Catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.